No. What about mine? Everybody beard check? All three of us beard checking? Looking good. Beard checks are good. Uh, welcome aboard, everybody. Beard check is complete. We are live. Mics are live. My name is Doobyis. This thing is called Fly in Formation, interview series that I do with artists from across Canada every week, trying to put the spotlight on as many people in as many local scenes as I can across the country. Of course, I play a bunch of music every week on a show called After the Smoke is Clear. I encourage people go check out at Sick Radio. You can find the archives at Doobyis.com. That's kind of the hub for everything that I do. But they're available through an app called Mixcloud, which is definitely worth picking up as well. Today on the show, two return guests I'm very happy to have here, Roshin and Uncle Fester. Welcome back, guys. How you doing?
Great.
Pretty
Good to be
good.
back.
Nice, nice. So you got the new album. It's been rolling out for months on end. This has been, I want to say, the biggest rollout I've seen from either of you guys. What are there, 4 singles from the new album?
Yep.
Nice. So I guess maybe let's just start. Can one of you guys give us a kind of elevator pitch? Like, what can people expect from the new album?
You want to go fast? You want me to go?
Sure, I'll go. Well, let's speak from two different perspectives, I guess. From like the beat perspective and from the rhyme perspective, what people can expect. You know what I mean?
Great
I mean,
idea.
there'll be some crossover there for sure, but I mean, for me personally, they can expect just off the bat, they can expect my best foot forward. So like I definitely my approach to this album was because I think every artist has like when they do something, they sort of like tier it sometimes, especially when you're a productive artist, you write a lot of rhymes, you make a lot of beats, do a lot of whatever. Right. You're like, oh, that's A, that's B, that's C or whatever. And for me, there is no I don't I try to put my best foot forward always, right? But when it comes to giving beats to Roshan, there's only my favorites, only the things I deem the best that also and not only the things that I deem the best, the things that I deem the best, the highest quality, but also that like hit me in a certain way the best. You know what I mean? That like make me feel a certain way or push me or to be like to have a greater artistic vision with what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Only the clearest visions. When this album was going together, and really that's how I approach working with Roshan in general, but just in particular for this album, like that's definitely a component, a beat wise of what you're going to expect. And then it really is just a matter of sort of thematic with the album high low. There's going to be these really chill like vibe setting moments, and there's going to be some like kind of like hyper moments as well. More sort of like slappy drums, more heavier stuff, and then some more bring it way down, more vibes type of stuff. So sort of thematically, you'll see it match the high low concept, and in terms of how internally I process it, it's like it's some of my favorite stuff from the period of time that we were working together.
So before you go with your half of the follow up to that, Roshan, can I just ask you, Fester, like, were you making beats and those beats you would make it and then think like this sounds like something that Roshan specifically should be on, or just like this is an upper echelon beat that I should give to somebody who's very deserving of an upper echelon beat?
It's really just a little bit of, not to cop out. It is a little bit of both, to
Yeah.
be honest, right? So, and I try to put things in like, oh, I think that they're going to sound good on this. But then I also sometimes try to add things that I think, okay, this is top tier, and I might not think of Roshan. But the way that he may like it may trigger, because with MCs it's all about writing, right? It's all about like, do they catch a vibe? Do they immediately want to start writing? Like really, like the MCs are like they're different, but they're like that. There's a habit of like, does it? A beat can be dope, but it doesn't mean it's going to make an MC want to write to it, right?
Yeah.
So it's really about sending things that maybe I wouldn't hear Roshan over, or I wouldn't think about, but would still be dope and still might inspire that pocket, right? Like that might give that feeling for him to write. So that's how I try to approach pitching beats. So
That makes sense. Yeah. Roshan, what can they expect from the lyrical side of this thing?
Yo, just before I touch on that, I just wanted to say that like Fess, I'm sorry that it took me so long to finish this. Um, you know what? I had been kind of on a wave of doing stuff off the cuff, like underthinking was the last project I had done, which was like, don't overthink stuff, just put it together, put it out. Whereas I really took my time with this. And knowing that I was getting not only like my favorite beats from Fess, but Fess has become one of my favorite producers ever. And like to just be able to put that together and have a body of work over that was kind of an honor. So I needed to show up because I knew that he was showing up. Um, I think for me, what ended up happening with this project was a couple things. One, it was a goal of mine to work with a bunch of people as artists that I really admire a lot that I hadn't as of yet. So there's a couple like usual suspect guests. Like people don't know, I have a lot of songs with Bogier. This is the first one that's come out. He's a rapper who lives here originally from Ottawa, but he's a killer. And me and him have a ton of music, but this will be the first one out. Swamp Donkey is my actual older brother. Decisive I've worked with. We had an EP that didn't come out with my old group Notes to Self, so we've done a ton of work. And even Shad I've worked with a couple times, but there were other guys that I've been friends with Run and Gun for a long time, and I've never had them on one of my projects. I've been friends with Six Letter for a long time. I've never had him on one of my projects, and that was one of these goals was kind of to come out and have a statement when you're trying to match swords, so to speak, with who I consider some of the best guys. Quake as well, I should say. Shadow Halifax. Just is like you have to come with it. So I spent a lot more time on these bars and writing than I had previously, and we fine tuned a lot. And Fest probably sent me some of the best beat packs I've ever heard, and I wasn't just writing on anything out of those, even though I think a lot of them, if I got them from someone else, I'd be like, that's the best beat. I was just like, having the faith in someone that the one is coming. So there's joints that I just do the Roshi bar out thing. One of my favorite joints on the album called Powdered Toast Man that I think is fucking pretty special for that. But there's also moments where we get pretty honest and delve into self-love, mental health, which is a theme through a lot of my writing. Um, and being broke at times, being up at times. And really that was the vibe going in, and we kind of decided that fit as the album title because that was so much of the vibe, both sonically and lyrically. High Low. And also we're giant basketball nerds, so High Low is
yeah.
the
There's
basketball.
definitely double multiple meanings to high low for sure. Yeah.
Sneaker talk for sure, right? Um,
Yeah, or the actual offensive sets, like a high low is like an offensive set.
oh, okay, all right,
Like
sure.
like an actual like X's and O's on the basketball court and things like that. So
I'm tall. I was tall enough to piss off the guys that coached basketball that I didn't play basketball, but I didn't fuck with basketball really.
Doobyis, how tall are you, man?
6'2", 6'3".
Oh, shit, this is the problem with being in chairs all the time, eh?
Yeah, it's true.
No sense.
works out for me. I'm all good.
There's a 6'8".
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
And
I've always
it's
assumed anyway. Yeah.
and that's one of the things that I really like. I'm really proud of this album for, and really in general, this happens to me often, and I don't ever direct albums or artists at all, really, in terms of what they want to talk about. Whenever I collaborate with an artist, there's always this. I've never really pitched an album concept to an MC before, unless it's like there's a couple people I work with like here in my home, like if Ambition's over or Sean Wan or something, like Sean Wan will come down from New Brunswick and we'll spend like 4 or 5 days together. So we're just nerding out on concepts. So then we do. But in terms of an MC, like I kind of let them bring the concept, and I'm part of. I get to be sort of like give my angle on that. And there's usually never a concept that I've been like, I'm not down with that. But one thing that always happens is that MCs typically have their most personal records with me. And I don't know. I mean, it has to be a quality of the way I'm producing my beats, I guess, and the things, the melodies and the things I gravitate towards. But that is something that I don't ever take for granted. And it happened, I feel like, again, on this album. I feel like Roshan has been more personal on this record than he has been on some other, maybe since Notes to Self.
Yeah.
So I always really don't ever take that for granted. I'm really like happy that that happens a lot. You know what I mean? And I think that the contrast between like Roshi just like going crazy bar wise and being more introspective, which is still crazy bar wise, um, is really awesome for me. And it's like makes for a really balanced project. And you know, the project
Roshan,
isn't.
so
It's
sorry.
not.
Go ahead.
I just want to say it's just the good point to say that the project isn't going to be over when it comes out on streaming either. Like we're going to have physical editions, and the album's going to be bigger when it comes out on physical as well. So
Okay.
we've got more music, period, but more music specifically under the High Low banner. So
Dope. Yeah, looking forward to seeing it deluxe edition or whatever. Roshan, I was going to ask, can you put words to what, in your opinion, draws you to be more introspective in a beat? Like, how would you describe a beat that's going to draw that out of you?
Dude, good question.
Right? I was thinking
I
about
don't
it
know,
myself, and I can't describe
I
it.
don't know
So
if I
good luck.
can. You know, okay, like one of the hardest things for me if I'm writing with someone is they say, "What is this song going to be about?" And I don't really know. If someone gives me a song that's like done or they have a concept, it's easy for me to write to it. But typically when I write on my own, I just start writing and the concept kind of comes from what immediately pulls. Like maybe the most introspective songs, Fast you could speak to this too on this, are like Dufferin Bus with Decisive and Doesn't Go Away with Shad, which was co-produced by Count, and we got additional harmonies from my guy Gnome from Essex Boys on as well. And those songs just probably came about. There's a, I guess what they both share is there's kind of like a somber nature. Even on Doesn't Go Away, there was no drums on that song when I wrote to it. And actually, I don't think there was when Shad wrote to it either. I sent him the version with the drums and he didn't know that he had it. Um, but sometimes that stuff can pull out more emotive things from me. Um, but I don't know if there's a hard and fast rule because I've definitely cried on some fucking hard ass shit too. I just kind of think it depends on kind of like where you're at in your head and what the beat is pulling, what it feels like it dictates. Because I feel like a lot of the time I'll write sad songs on beats that sound happy
Right.
because like I'm a child of Hey Ya and like that kind of shit, right? It's like I like the misdirect. I like people being, like the fucking "you don't hear me, you just want to dance" type shit. You know what I mean? Like I like that.
yeah. Yeah, I love those weird combos too. I find a good group that does that really well for me in the kind of the opposite way is doppelgangers. Like they really have some real melancholy or emotional sounding beats, and then they're just spitting straight style rap over top of it,
Yeah,
or just barring out. And it's like the combination of that sometimes is so ill to me. So I really
those
love
guys are
those.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they wear capes too. I like that.
Very stylish with the capes. Yeah, for sure. Um, so I guess, Fester, was it you that came up with the concept for this one? Like you mentioned, you don't normally pitch the concept for an album, but this one you did?
No, this one was really just us back and forthing. Like we knew we wanted to something with multiple meanings and we wanted basketball included in that. It was like there was obvious like a life connection, like things going on in your personal life and basketball, but we weren't sure how that was going to sort of pan out, you know what I mean? How that was going to be represented. So we were like kicking around phrases and different like things
Yeah,
that it could be and things like that. So and it just kind of we and eventually kind of settled on something that felt the most natural and felt the best to both of us, you know. And
it
we
really,
really and shout out to Bronze who helped with the really helped shape the design and the concept of the album too through the artwork, right? And the design and really like helped at the same time we were locking this down in terms of the concept for the record was there for that as well. So I can't really deny the fact that Bronze really had a helping hand towards the end, just kind of shaping and molding the final pieces of the concept for the record just through his
Through
artwork.
visuals, eh?
and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's a
Okay.
hard thing to do to come in when a body of work is more or less done and hear it and take the direction and be like, this is representative of both of you guys.
Mhm.
Also, happy birthday, Bronze. This is his birthday today. Um, go bronze. But yeah, I think that that was one of the things, like, I think for me and Fest both, who, like many of us experience those kind of lows sometimes, one of the consistencies in our lives that brings us joy is playing or watching basketball. We're both giant sports nerds. He's more of a sports nerd. I'd say I'm more of a just an NBA nerd, but it's been something that brings me joy when I'm really sad, and it's something to look forward to,
Yeah.
for those moments.
I mean, it's such a relatable concept and such a kind of like wide concept that you could put so many different topics under, just the highs and lows of life. It's almost like that's what everyone's writing every song about in some way, right? But you guys managed to come at it and really flesh it out. And I think like I've been listening to the album all afternoon here. Like it sounds really um like it's classic hip hop, traditionalist hip hop that has, you know, just this feel to it that feels grown up, that feels adult in a way that a lot of hip hop doesn't. And it wanted it, like I wanted to ask about, like, there's a clip that Russ said a while back that's gotten a lot of rotation on the internet and has floated around a lot, people have brought it up in other interviews with me, but where he was saying that like hip hop needs an adult contemporary lane that is like a viable lane to be in. And so I kind of wanted to ask you guys, like, is this adult contemporary hip hop? Like, because I feel like it's very accessible. It's real in a way that, like, you know, hip hop purists and like there's something for lyric guys, but there's also just a vibe to it that makes it feel very like there's an edge to it, but not enough of an edge that it's gonna scare the women away, you know. Like it's just a very well-rounded project, I think, in expressing maturity, I guess, is how I'll say that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Did
think,
you, yeah,
like, I don't, I think that the scary thing about is just the term of adult contemporary screams like Michael Bolton,
right, yeah.
Kenny
Kenny G or something, huh?
G, yeah, and like I don't feel like we're like that per se. I mean, maybe I could lean into that if it were gonna make Kenny G money.
Sure. Yeah, right, there you go.
Circular breathing. But I feel like, yeah, I mean, in the sense of like, the older I get, hope you guys can't hear that. My fucking notifications keep buzzing off. I gotta turn those off.
It's quiet, not a big deal.
You're good. Um, I think in the older I get, the more I have a sense of I always want my shit to be accessible in terms of like a surface layer. I'd like it to be that you can hear it and not have to be in on the minutia of hip hop culture to understand most of what I'm saying. And if you are, then you get something else out of it. And I think from a songwriting perspective, Fester's music really loans itself to writing memorable choruses. And I don't always sing on hooks, but I do with him a lot of the time because I just think it feels like it should be like that.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Fest?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, I mean, I think you've got two guys who have put their time in terms of making rap music and are kind of veterans. So when we came together, like I think we just executed in a way, like you said, like I think like the most hardcore of lyric heads get flipped by what Roshi says. And like, and I really will stand on these beats. And I think that the fact that these beats, I think, can appeal to like the deepest beat heads and producers, and also like, the casual listeners can also hear them and be into them. To me, like that's mission accomplished, right? Like that's
Yeah.
like that's to me that's my experience and all these things coming through where I can be like, I've never tried to do anything except make rap records, ever. Period. End of story. Just make rap records I love. You know what I mean? Like I've never really had, like, if I was in a group or working with an artist and they had intentions of trying to be like make it a bigger song or be more poppy or do this or take this approach or make that aim, awesome. I've never done that. I have never, when I made music and then put it out there, I've ever had that direction like that. I just make rap I love. So if it appeals to like the most hardcore of rap fans and like casual listeners, to me, like I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, man, dude, I think you guys
know what I
did
mean?
really
So
well choosing beats too, like making beats, but because like the beats, there's a fine line to walk with kind of like jazzy flavored hip hop where it like can become too much
no,
like a
it can get
lullaby. You know
corny.
what I
It can
mean?
get
Like it
it
can.
can get corny. Yeah, no. If you use like if you rely too much on like sweet melodies and like and you know like mine I love minor chord progressions and things like that, but you have to worry you can't get too sappy, right? Like
Yeah.
and that's one thing that I always have been trying to keep like the gate on is like I think I've got a pretty good meter and a good corniness meter where I'm like, okay, this is going beyond being sentimental, this is going beyond being reflective, this is going beyond just being a dope chord progression. This is now like kind of cheesy, you know, kind of corny, you know, like we're kind of Michael Bolton, you know, like or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right. Yeah. It's approaching
for,
Kenny G levels here. We gotta
yeah,
Yeah,
reel
you're
it back.
overdoing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you know, like you know what I mean? So like and I do have like a lot of more harder, more sort of uh you know, discordant, weird sounding beats, but that just wasn't the direction that we were going in. So like that is the sort of the line we were walking with this record for sure.
Right.
I think there's just to add this one little thing. I think that there is a thing too of the overproduction that can happen sometimes in when people are trying to make you're in the studio with your music for too long, or you're trying to make it pop sensible. And it's like that's not what I mean when I'm trying to talk about accessibility. I'm talking about, like we said, like doing the best music you can, but there's a reason that like Taylor is on the radio and stuff. It's like sometimes it's almost like too accessible, like it's so produced that you're like, there's not, the writing might be cool or whatever, but if there's not a lot of personality left, what I
Yeah.
mean? There's no risks being taken. There's no vulnerability that's managed to seep through out of this.
Sometimes you can feel the algorithm influencing the artist a little bit
Yeah,
too
oh,
heavily. Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so there's interludes. There's a couple of interludes on the album that aren't specifically like their own tracks, but they kind of like are outros to tracks. I feel like
Hmm. Yeah.
where you had everybody in the Canadian industry other than me on there,
I'll
saying
get on the
what they
extended
do
version. Don't worry, brother.
when they're high and when they're low. And
Yeah.
yeah, lots of guys I've talked to and lots of people who I play their music regularly on there. I thought that was a dope thing to do. I wanted to ask you guys the same question that you must have asked all of them: what they do when they're high and what they do when they're low. Because I don't think your guys' voices were on there answering that, right?
We
No.
tried to not have anyone who had a verse on the album or produced anything to talk. Not entirely true. Gnome talks. Actually, I just realized we cheated once.
There's one cheat with Gnome. Yeah.
One cheat with Gnome who just sings backups. He didn't technically like write. So, but he wrote melody. He wrote melody. We did cheat. Damn. Fuck. All right. Anyway, yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
cut him and put me on instead of him for
Girl,
the
you're gonna be on
deluxe.
the. I think you'll
There
be
you
on the
go.
deluxe version, man. We got to do another one for the deluxe, and we had a couple sneaking at the end that didn't manage to make the record. That
Yeah, there's some that
yeah,
didn't make the record for
we got to
sure.
make sure that
The extended version coming then.
yeah, we got to make sure that Wayne and Jay are on the.
Listen, man, I program music every week on major radio, and I spend a lot of time juggling crazy requests if you DJ in a nightclub, but never have I felt the pressure of doing these interlude vocal and the like just for putting them, just making it work, right? Like making it sound right on the record, and then like trying to represent everyone that because at first we were like, oh, we got to make sure we get enough people, so we put like we're just like
Way too
you
many
send one,
people.
send one, send one, send one, and then all of a sudden like we're like, oh my god, we got to slow down. We have to stop telling people to send one because we've got a zillion and we've got to make this sound good and make it work. So
They trickle in too is the thing that's the nature of it. Like some people are going to hit you right away. Also, everyone that I reached out to, I gave the worst instructions to, like manage like possible. I was just like, "Can you send me a voice note of when you're high and when you're low, what you do?" You know what I mean? Like no one understood. And then one person I think wrote me back and they're like, "What, dude?" And I was like, "Oh, I got it." Then I like sent people the voice notes and they are still kind of not clear. And then I don't know. So
You're
we ended
supposed to be the wordsmith, Roshan.
Oh,
I
bro,
mean,
I'm not sometimes when it comes to shit like that. I'm like, you know what I
yeah.
mean, right? Um, especially when I'm like trying to do something quickly. But Fest got a bunch back right away, and then I'm rushing to try to get my people in as well. And then what ended up happening is we would get like over the course of the next 2 weeks, we would just get one, and someone would be like, "I'm sorry, is this too late? I'm sorry, is this too late?" And I'm just like sending them to to Fest being like, "Can we do?" And he's like, "I am."
Add this one. Add this one.
No,
Yeah.
there was literally like one or two that made it in on the album because I had to revise mixes for other reasons.
Yeah,
Like the album's done. Oh no, it's not done. Okay,
yeah.
this one's go to a little change here, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I'm glad that it ended up being the way it did because it was really kind of fit the sort of an aesthetic that I was really trying to go for with that with those voices, and I really think brought the record together.
I do want to answer your question though, Dubious. I when I'm high, I make rap music. It should be corny. I do that when I'm high. And it's weird. I probably do the same shit when I'm low as when I'm high. When I'm low, I do jigsaw puzzles with my mom. I play ball to feel better. I watch ball to feel better, or I try to get on stage. I just try to change my frame of reference. So sometimes I'll go for a long walk. I try to hit my 10,000 steps or whatever.
Mhm,
But when I'm high, I'm kind of doing those same things because that's when I'm happiest is on stage playing ball or straight up doing a jigsaw puzzle with my mom.
mhm. Yeah,
Beautiful.
I have that same
Uh,
dynamic with when I'm high and I'm low because I do things when I'm low and then they end up being things I do when I'm like make me the happiest, right? So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I do really have some cliche answers. Like number one for high and low is make music. Like that's just who I am. I mean, sometimes when I'm low, I get repelled from music a little bit, like because I don't like to force things, and I don't and sometimes I will if I'm more than a more than 2 days away from doing something and I start to get jittery, even though sometimes it's good to take much longer breaks than that, even as an artist, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, high low is that the real answer is making music. But um, when I get low, I really like we have this in the back of my yard. We have this thing that we call the shed. It's not really a shed because
I was like, I've
so
heard of those.
yeah. It's a bigger than a shed, and it's all built out. It's actually my wife's office, and it's like a hangout area for us. It's a building that it's completely modernized and built out and stuff. But I like to go back there, honestly. And me and my wife built an arcade machine back there, and we just like to chill out and watch movies and play old video games and eat food and shit. So that's where I go when I'm like when I really need to like escape from the world and just really like just get myself boosted up. Like that's a real
Sounds
boost for me.
like the stereotypical like man cave, except more gender
Neutral,
inclusive.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, 100%. It's a cool spot too because my wife is Mexican and from the southwest of the U.S. and it's all like southwest in there. So anyway, it's dope.
Dope. Did you guys
Yeah, so
specifically have to tell artists not to just send you back voice memos saying when I'm high I make music and when I'm low I make music? Because I feel like that's probably could have been
Yeah.
everybody's answer, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there
We
were
got a
some
few
that
of those.
yeah, there were some that didn't make it because it was just like it's too similar to other ones, or
Yeah, yeah.
it just didn't sound as interesting as it could have. You know what I
Right.
mean? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because like it is an aesthetic thing where you're trying to like things have to balance one after another and blah blah blah. And like that's why Noam made it and was kind of the like we said the breaking the rule in terms of the way we did that
Yeah.
Good,
because
good.
his sounded so good and it worked so well with it within the interlude that he was in that it was just like oh, okay the pacing and we love what he's saying and it was dope because we wanted a good mix of like just like the record we wanted people to be jokey and over the top and we also wanted people to be introspective and real about it as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah,
So
really, that's a good observation. Was your boy Russ too? He said the one where he was talking about like when
yeah,
I smoke weed, and he's like, and when
yeah, Russ from
I mean
Germany.
I smoke weed too, and he's laughing, and I'm
And he
like,
laughed at himself. Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones because he's clearly just being honest in the moment, and he just says what's true, and then he just laughs at himself. And I think that one's awesome.
He
If you
realizes what he's saying as he's saying
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
and how.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I guess
And
I do that then too. Yeah.
yeah, if people don't know Ruster, the Ruster German graffiti artist, they should go check him. He's an incredible graffiti artist and does a lot of dope artwork. So I want to give a shout out to my man Rust. So
Nice. Can we loop back to the artwork and kind of the rollout?
sure.
Did you get that dude to do anything visual for you on this, or
Rust?
yeah, Rust, yeah,
no,
Rust
no,
or whatever.
it was all it was all Bronze did
Sure.
it all. Yeah, he handled every aspect of it. So
How about planning the actual rollout? Like, I assume he was in charge of the thematic cover art for the singles with the shoes and the similar
Yes.
design.
We picked we would have picked the singles and what we were gonna do with them, I think. But um, and then Bronze is a guy who works like he's like a traditional designer in the sense that he'll kind of like ideate on like four different ideas that are like, take them pretty far. So this was like not the original thought process, but when as the album kind of came to completion, he had this idea that was like, in his words, he's like, is this just it? Is this a little on the nose, but it's just it? And then he took it to his credit, like to some really interesting places. So for Brand New Religion, which was kind of like the idea of like we were talking about like bootlegging stuff, like how you see those, Canal Street and like fake Louis bags and shit. And so
Okay.
he did the Bapestas, which are kind of like, the fake Nikes in some ways, right? And then like we ended up doing like for It Doesn't Go Away, it's like these worn ass shoes with the denim stains and they're curled up a little bit, orange peel, you know, finding a lot of that stuff is finding the source material that looks as good as it can, and to be a designer and you're not using AI to just generate this, you know what I mean? But he ended up adding this kind of like texture of like almost like the Gatorade sweat, you know what I mean, on those shoes if you zoom in, and like we just felt like this is the look of the low top and the high top of like high low, and it's just kind of hit it in every possible angle of what we wanted to do.
So I wanted to ask, the entire time I've been watching this rollout, like, are these shoes that someone owns? Does one of you have a mean shoe collection that these were coming out of, or?
Not us. We don't own them, but someone does, I'm sure.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I like that answer. Okay. Um, how about
They're really shoes, though. Yes,
sorry, what'd you say?
they are images of real shoes, though. Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Um, how about this, Roshan? I've noticed your dad on your social media recently. A couple of
Yes.
times you were getting him to do the camera work for you. Um, you're
killing.
one of a few Canadian rappers I can think of who has put their dad on the social media. Mickey O'Brien has his parents on there. Quakes had his parents on his.
Yeah.
Um,
Mickey's parents are tight, dude. I've stayed over at his crib when I've been in Sudbury. They're the fucking best, dude.
supporters of the music culture then, yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome. Oh,
I wanted to just ask about like your dad and kind of his influence on you musically. Did he
like,
help or
he's my
hinder your
hero,
music
man.
career?
He's like my hero. My dad's 82. He rocks with rap music in a real way. My mom does too. I don't want to leave her out of this. They're both huge supporters of mine and have been from time. My dad came up as like a hippie who went to the army to get an education because he didn't have money growing up and he hated what the army was doing. This is like in the Nam era, and basically just forced himself out to get discharged as an officer
Nice.
while he was trying to get a chemistry degree, and then completely flipped and became a social worker and met my mom in that. Uh, my mom was still semi-retired practicing therapist. So like their influence on me in terms of being in touch with your own emotions is great. And loving yourself is like all of the stuff that I've learned in life's lessons and how I try to treat people. That comes from them. You know what I mean? My dad, I think, is like the perfect example of a dude who is so genuinely kind, but you will never walk on my dad. As soon as someone tries to take advantage of him, he's just like, hey, how about fuck that? You know what I mean? And then people are like, oh, I didn't know you had that in you. But which I think is the goal. You want to not walk around with these walls up, but you also don't want to be taken advantage of for being kind. You know what I mean?
He must be pretty good with tech for an 82-year-old. Did you have to give him a
You
tutorial
know,
on how to record and stuff?
he's relatively tech savvy. I think
Yeah.
like when I was a kid and the internet was coming out, I remember he was way more tech savvy than me. And I was probably like, when were we all getting internet? Like, I guess mid late 90s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like
Mhm.
he was the guy who would like kind of like troubleshoot computer stuff for me. We're now at a point, I think, with phones where like I can help him more than he can help me. But he knows what he's doing, and he was a photographer, amateur photographer for a long time largely like wildlife and landscape, but he loves birds.
Nice.
So you give my dad a camera and you're like, shoot me in front of owls. He's like, I've fucking trained for this.
That must have been some sort of like
Yeah.
wildlife rehabilitation
Yeah.
place or something like that. Okay.
We went up to Prince Rupert together to see my aunt, who was my dad's twin sister, my aunt, uncle, and my cousin and her husband and son. And up in Prince Rupert, I guess my cousin through marriage, David, he's kind of like one of these guys who just knows everybody in the entire town. You know what I mean? So we went out to meet this woman, Nancy, who runs a wildlife sanctuary. She used to run it with her husband, but he passed away. She's 88 years old. And so the first place we go out back, and she just opens this like door into this, I don't know, this conservation area, and it's just a room. There's 6 eagles. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
what? She's like, yeah, just walk right in. They're chill. And then they're just screeching and flying above me. And like it's big enough that you can have, safely like take care of eagles, but it's not like huge. It's not a zoo or some shit. You know what I mean? And so we went there. We saw a bunch of owls, which is you've seen in that video. Bunnies that I got to, pet. I like bunnies. She rescued recently. Someone had brought by an injured baby porcupine that she had nursed back to health. You have no idea how much porcupines eat in a day. It's crazy. And then yeah, like ducks and
Nice,
you
man.
know
There's a place just outside of Lethbridge here called Birds of Prey that's pretty similar. Anybody in the area should definitely check it out. They need support there. It's like a private place that, takes care of birds that they find injured. But yeah, same deal. You can like go see eagles right up close, or like have a owl stand on your wrist.
See, that's
or
always been
whatever.
my dream, was to have a music video where I'm just like casually arm out and then a falcon lands on my on my glove. And I remember I got pretty close one time on the Essex Boys album where I had reached out to a friend of a friend, and she was like, "Yeah, we can do this," but it was like kind of in the COVID era of like hypothetically we can do this, but like I don't know if you're gonna be able to come here.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so eventually maybe,
Social
yeah.
distance with the eagles. Yeah, my favorite thing at that Birds of Prey is that you can feed ducks there, and there's always these geese that like everybody's afraid of. And last time I was out there, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna see if these geese will accept me. And so I had like a bunch of like big ass scary Canadian geese
Yeah, they got teeth,
eating
man.
food out of my hand. Yeah, they were actually
They're
more gentle
dangerous.
than the ducks are eating out of your hand. It was quite something. But I should go back out there and get more photo ops with a bunch of geese around me for flying formation, I think.
I think oh, you should, dude. Damn.
Yeah, for real.
That'd be good.
That's a music video too.
For
And it's
real.
even better if it's dude shoots music video, gets attacked by geese, and that just becomes like another viral
Yeah.
thing for you.
Word.
Yeah.
Fess, you got any flowers to give to your parents? You want to say anything about your parents' influence on you throughout life?
I mean, my parents' influence mainly comes from support. Like my parents have been so supportive of anything I've wanted to do artistically ever. So like my parents do not mess with rap in a real way. unlike I mean, they do like they hear stuff that I've done and they're like I know there's stuff that of mine that they don't understand and there's stuff that they genuinely like. Right? So I mean, they're genuine people and stuff like that. But in terms of that type of direct like connection musically, my connection with my parents is other places. I mean, they had a music collection and stuff like that, and I definitely have recollections of going through their albums and stuff like that. But um, my parents don't. I remember specifically actually um when I first started DJing and doing cuts and stuff like that, that a tape of mine was playing in the car and it had me cutting, and my dad was so confused as to what that sound was and what was going on and like what was happening. Like he wasn't a hater. He was just confused by the whole thing, right? So that's where my parents stand in terms of that, right? Like ultra supportive, like the best, the absolute best. But yeah, just not like that's not their bag for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yo, I can remember me and my brother were playing my dad like Common and like Pharaoh and like, a bunch of really good rappers and stuff. And then just riding in the car with my dad. And I think it was right around when Uptown Baby came out, Lord Tariq and Peter Guns. And I'm like a kid still. Like I'd probably been rapping for like, I don't know, a year or something, right? And we're just in the car and like silencing the song. And my dad just goes, "These guys aren't very good." Yeah, true, kind of. I mean, they kind of it's a bop, you know what I mean? But yeah, they're not Pharaoh. Anyway,
yeah,
go ahead, brother.
yeah.
Sorry.
Parents with hip hop are funny. I was just thinking about this summer. My dad had to give me a ride to go get a vehicle, so he picked me up on his Harley, and we had to drive like 4 hours north of here. And about a decade ago, I had loaded up an iPod with all sorts of music for him to like listen to as he bikes. And I forgot that like now, bikes have speakers on them. And so you can like blast this music. But on that iPod, I'd put like, a bunch of music he requested, old classic rock and shit. And I'd got like the 100 best songs of all time from the Rolling Stone and put that on there as well. So as we're driving down the highway this summer, fucking NWA Fuck the Police comes on, and I was just like, are you kidding me? You drive around playing NWA Fuck the Police out of your Harley? Like, that's badass, man. And he was like, yeah, you put this on the list, it's on there. I was like, yes, good
That's
job,
fucking
10
funny.
points for dad. But yeah, how about we move this thing along from the parents? I wanted to ask you guys just some generic kind of how important is questions here. Um, Roshan, I feel like some of these I might have asked you last time, so
All
whatever.
fast,
Just
baby.
just answer it again if you need to,
Okay.
but or whatever. Um,
Give better answers this time.
I
yeah,
will.
now
Probably.
you've had time to think about it and
All
really
right.
study the right answer, because we all know all these have a bunch of right answers to them. Everybody's got a right answer. Yeah. There's a lot of argument about what the right answer is. How important is improvisation on stage? Let's do that.
It depends on what you're doing. I like to do it a lot. Um, I like, I'll have like a general song order, what I mean, things can move around and stuff, but I think realistically, some of the most fun I have is just getting to be myself with the full permission of being myself. So like being on stage and in between just making really dumb jokes with my DJ. Fess and me haven't really performed just together so far, and I'm really excited for the prospect because he thinks I'm funny, which is I don't really get that, but I'm with it. And like I just really love making a dumb joke and pulling in Norm Macdonald and just staring at the audience until people laugh. Because I always feel like, yeah, be comfortable and they're comfortable. But no, I think improvisation is it's fun, man. And like when mistakes happen, that's like part of the show. It's just like, how do you roll with it? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to become the best part of your show, or is it going to be, a fucking panic for you? And
Right.
like, you don't let it become something bad, then it's going to be something good, probably.
I
What
think
about you,
it's
Fester? Yeah.
I think it's important for a live show that there's something in there for sure. Like if you're completely choreographed, you better be in it. That better be an incredible show.
Yeah.
Like
Backup dancers and shit,
yeah,
right?
and I don't think most music acts have got their live choreography down and their live show that down nailed down. You know what I mean? So you better be doing something. You know what I mean? And like we all know the some of the worst sets we've seen by amateur artists are those that are over choreographed or those that are not choreographed at all and they're just stiff, right?
Yeah.
So I think you have to get comfortable and you have to learn to do that on stage. You know what I mean? It took me a long time for sure. I'm not a front man or anything like that. I'm a, if I was in a band, I'd be a bass player, something like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm a DJ, I'm a producer, I'm in the back, right? So, but you still have to learn how to look like you're into the music, right? And
Yeah.
participating with the other members of the group and the audience, right? So, I think that all of that is a degree of improvisation. So you really have to. And I know in the band Aquaculture that I play with, like Aquaculture is like a master. He says the craziest things to the audience when he's on stage, and the stories he tells, he'll make up wild stories between songs, and just be like, the song will end, he'll make up a story like a 60-second wild story into the next song. No one's heard it before. The band is losing their mind as okay, here we go. So like in terms of that band, it's like it's a wild ride of improvisation the whole time, right? So
did
I think it's important.
did you just refer to the band as Aquaculture, or is the one dude Aquaculture? I thought
It's kind of both, but
it's kind of both. Oh,
the
okay.
one dude is Aquaculture, but the band is also Aquaculture.
Okay.
That's just
So
how
that
that.
that can be
Just
both,
come on
sure.
stage and go, I am aquaculture and we are aquaculture.
Aquaculture. I mean, I get it. I just had to ask because I didn't get it until I asked it, but it makes sense now. Um, how about how important is competition in hip hop?
You want to go over this one, Fessy?
And has it
Very.
changed
I think
for
it's.
you
I think
over
it's. I
the
think it.
years?
Very might be an overstatement. It is important, and it's gone up and down for me over the years. But I do think it is important. I think that like there is a certain steel sharpens steel element to hip hop
Yeah.
that comes from the culture of battling and competition and stuff like that. And I think that that's important. I don't think that everyone in hip hop culture necessarily has to be the best battler in the world, but I do think that like competition and wanting to being inspired to be better by other artists and hearing other artists and going, okay, well, I'm chucking that beat in the garbage, or I'm throwing these rhymes in the garbage and I'm starting
Yeah.
over. Like I think that's really important. That really improves you and really pushes you to be better at your craft. So I think it's really important. And um, I think it's there's certain types of competition, and when you say that, I think it scares people away, or but it doesn't have to be that type of direct American sporting competition. But I do think it's important that there is that sort of the measuring stick element of it where you're being pushed to pay dues and be better. So
Yeah.
I don't even know how much I'd add to that. I agree 100%. I think in rap, within rappers, you see it a lot because if people are cut from that cloth, they kind of just you do a song with someone who's good and they're trying to take your head off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not a diss. It's like that's the biggest compliment. If you get a whack verse from someone who you know is capable of doing a good verse, you're like, oh, you don't give a fuck about me.
Right.
It doesn't make you feel like I got this guy on the song. You're like, oh, this sucks. So like
I
I
hear
think,
some of those verses out in the wild as I listen through
oh,
music every
for
Friday.
sure.
There's definitely somewhere it's like, it sounds like he was freestyling this one. You
Oh yeah,
know?
coming through. Tell you this. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, still to this day, I still want to be the best producer. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that really means, but there's still something inside of me that like I want people to say that about me. I really do. Like I want like that competitive thing that existed in me when I was 15 and sucked at every aspect of rap music is still there right now. Like and I'm really happy for that. Like I'm really like I really I'm scared that will go away someday, you know, like because I feel like that's
Trust
really
me, man. It's not.
it's served me it's served me really well, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I was
mean,
actually sitting here thinking about like, how I used to always say every MC should think they're the best. If you don't think you're the best MC, you should probably go back and work on your lyrics till you fucking do, right? It was kind of the line that I would always rattle off. And thinking about it as you guys were talking there, I don't know if I do believe that necessarily anymore. Um, because I think that like I've gotten a lot more humble, and I wouldn't tell you I'm the best MC alive. That's for fucking sure. There's a lot of dope MCs out there, and to me now, I think being the best is kind of a silly concept. But I don't know,
mhm.
Roshan, do you think MCs should think they're the best?
I mean, yes and no, because it's subjective. You know what I mean? So everybody can. I think that there's like, I think that the culture and everything has grown so much that it's hard to have a should in the
Right.
situation anymore. You know what I mean? There are people like, um, I wrote a line one time on a song that's not out. It will come out eventually where I say there's so much more to this music than being good at it. And like I genuinely believe that this stuff has saved people's lives. And it's like they don't need to be have delusions of being the greatest rapper of all time. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
I think that my pen is elite. I think I'm amazing. You know what I mean? At the same point, it's like I have heroes and there are people that some of you guys might be like, oh, that's you're better than this guy who if I worked with it would break my brain because I'm such a giant fan of them and I'm not around if it's not for them. So it's a confusing thing, but I do think that there's something in it where it's like I definitely come from that school of be the best on this and like to a point where I wouldn't jump on I wouldn't jump on a joint and be like I'm gonna rap like I'm a drill artist, for example, now. But there was up to a point where I wanted to be good at everything and that was important to me. I didn't want to be a guy who was just lyrics. I wanted to master how I could use my own voice. I wanted to be able to flow behind the beat because I liked how Prodigy and Evidence did it. And I didn't want to be one of these stiff rappers. You know what I mean? I wanted to be able to, do these internal rhymes like Pharaoh was doing. I wanted to be able to rhyme the same word like Cam did. I wanted to be funny like Cam did, like De La did. You know what I mean? Like all of that shit I loved. And I wanted to say weird words like Doom did. You know what I mean? Like, so I worked, you work on all these different aspects to try to be the best. And the best feeling I get still in hip hop is like putting down that verse and having other rappers that you admire in the room be like, damn, Like this guy came with it. That's the best feeling. Yeah.
Hell yeah. You came with it on this one, man. I can tell you that. You definitely did well on this album. I think like listening to it today, guys, I mean, I give compliments to everybody's music because I do think there's a lot of good music out there, but like listening to this one today, I was like, no, this one's actually special. Like this one might get some spins. I don't replay music very often. I'm listening to a ton of new music every week, and like throughout the course of the summer, I played the Clips album maybe 3 times. That's probably the only album I've spun multiple times for the past year or whatever. Like,
Good fucking album though.
yeah, it's a good album, but like, listening to this one today, I was actually like, I might actually listen to this shit again. Which,
Nice.
Thank you, man.
That's a compliment for sure. Let's do, how important is making time to intake media in your life?
You mean non-basketball media?
I think sports counts as media. I don't know, but because there are some artists, I ask this one because there are some artists who have told me like, nah, I never turn on the TV because I'm too busy creating all the time. And then there's artists who like are obviously media junkies because they're making so many
Yeah.
references
References.
to different media shit, right?
I don't know. I think I can't wait for you to interview Decisive in a month and ask him this question. I
I'll
think
make sure I do. I'll try
yeah,
to
do.
remember that. Yeah.
I think that I mean, it depends again on the person. For me, like I wish there was more time because I am genuinely interested, and I think it's really fun being part of these cultural moments that happen. So that happens in sports, but it's also like if you're watching a certain show right when it pops, you know what I mean, and everyone's kind of watching it at the same time, that feels like a special moment. And sometimes people write lines, not even just in hip hop, but across the board, or there's references to these things, and you don't get them. You're kind of like missing out. I feel like a little bit. So in that sense, it matters. But realistically, like the media I consume is like I try to listen to new music by artists that I like a lot, and that's hard in itself. And then I have like you know basketball media. I watch a lot of NBA stuff. I listen to Low Post. I listen to like the Lonely Island podcast with Seth Meyers. You know what I mean? And then I read a ton of like comic books and shit like that. And that's sort of what I'm on a day-to-day basis. And I try to see good movies. But I think that I'd like to do more. It's just a matter of like how much time do you really have?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is from a guy who is not married and doesn't have kids. So if you're a rapper who does, like, you know what I mean? Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like my answer would be like, oh, it's not important, but that's ridiculous for me because I'm a media junkie. I think that, but for me, like, I don't have I'm lucky I don't have to be like an MC. I don't necessarily have to be plugged into ultra current stuff because Roche is right. There is something about MCs referencing certain things in a certain way that's really dope and exciting and really plugs into a moment. But for me, other than music I'm very current on. And basketball, obviously. But other than that, like I consume a ton of media that isn't current at all.
Yeah.
Um, just as an example, like my partner Dre and I are really trying to do um like a digital independence thing where we're pulling away and just like collecting our own media, either it's physical or and then archiving that or purchasing it like digitally, not streaming, and having it
Yeah.
purchasing a digital copy and really like building my own server and streaming things here and doing all that type of stuff. So I'm a media junkie. Like but I'm also you said like, oh, are you consuming this or are you I don't have time, I'm creating. While I'm creating, I'm always consuming. Like I've got multiple screens in here. I've got like old movies playing, old cartoons, videos, whatever, right? Skate movies, old, like whatever. Like I like a lot of stuff from certain eras. So that stuff is kind of always an influence for me as I'm creating. It's kind of always happening at the same time because like Roche, I don't have kids. I do have a partner. And I'm lucky that we're into similar stuff that way too. So that kind of stuff influences me from like a sort of in a just kind of benign way every day. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think it's producers will also draw from influences just based on what music you're hearing and discovering and listening to, right? Like especially sample based producers, obviously, right?
100%, yeah.
Um, Okay, so last one of these how important questions I'm going to ask. It's kind of just a flip of that last one. How important is intaking news? You guys keep up with the news?
Go first. You go first.
I mean, in today's world, they really beat the plot line into you repeatedly over and over and over and over and over again. And sometimes that changes rapidly from minute to minute and hour to hour. And so I feel like these days it's more important to be less plugged in. I think there are some overarching things and things happening in the world that you should be plugged in and you should be aware of. But in terms of the way the current cycle works, I think people should be pulling away from that. And they should find ways to, or I shouldn't say people should be doing anything. For me, it's just like I know for me the importance of news. It's important to know certain things that are happening because news means things are happening in the world for real on the ground that really impact our lives, if not now, in the future. And there's some stuff happening in the world that could be impacting everybody in major ways. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to know that stuff and be up on that stuff, but it's also important to not dwell on it in the way that the world wants you to, and the way that the media and things are being pushed at us, and the way that that cycle works. So for me, it's almost important to be pulling away because it's almost if you want to be plugged in, it's really not hard to be plugged into these things these days. So it's really just about finding the right voices that are not saying things to you in ways that make you feel insane and to damage your mental health. Or at least that's my perspective on it, and it's more about having it being very measured and being less of that in my life. So
Hmm. That's true. I mean, like you're right in the sense that you're kind of inundated with it no matter what you do these days. If you're on social media,
Yeah.
or you go outside and just are talking to somebody. I think one of the things that I was talking to my guy Hunter about recently is like we're so caught up in American politics because we're so close by, and obviously it does affect Canadians a lot. That sometimes we're not as aware of what's going on within Canada. And like I think that that's something that I try to be a little more aware of. And then like I said, like it's never not a crazy world we're in. You know what I mean? And from fucking repeated bombings and crazy mass shootings all over the place. So you kind of have to be aware of where you're at. Um, it can't be the only thing in your life, but I think it's worthwhile to stand for something. You know what I mean? And have principles about those things. And you know, if you have a platform and someone asks you, I guess you can use that. I'd love to see a free Palestine, and I think it's terrible what's happening there. And same point, I would say that there's crazy there's Islamophobia and anti-Semitism running rampant as well. You know what I mean? And these things are not. Sometimes I think people equate a group of people with a government, and I don't like that, but it's yeah, I don't know how much to say on this shit. It's just kind of I try to be aware of it. At the same point, I don't claim to have any of the real answers.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't think anybody has the real answers. That's why it's circular talk that, goes around and around and on social media and, rage baits
yeah,
everybody to the point of breaking, I think, if they don't do like Fester said and consciously check out. It's definitely tougher to check out from it than it is to engage with it. It's easy to, like you said, stay engaged with the news. Fester, I agree with all that, man. Um,
stay engaged with the news in your community. Stay engaged with the people that you like, with your family that you see in real life, or your friends that you see in real life. Man, get up on their news. You know what I mean? Like, there's
yeah,
nothing better than just talking to real humans because most 9.99999% of the time, it's going to make you realize, oh, that's right. People are all right, man. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah,
yeah.
we get caught up in our little bubbles. So
that's a real
Um,
thing. The real thing.
Roshan, you mentioned you wanted to stay up to date on what's happening in Canada a little bit more. Um, Allow me on my platform here to soapbox for just a second and tell you guys about the UCP and what they did last night. The teachers here have been on strike for the last 3 weeks in Alberta, and our provincial government, the conservative UCP, last night opened legislation grounds for the first time, first sitting at the ledge, and the premier introduced a bill that was going to force the teachers back to work using what's called the notwithstanding clause, which is basically like, we as a province can do what we want, constitution and charter be damned. So like, this is taking away their rights to be represented by a union and negotiate fairly. They've been forced back to work, and the NDP, like, filibustered and debated this bill. That it was being pushed through all three readings last night. So they were in legislature till 2 in the morning last night, filibustering this, which Danielle Smith, the premier of the UCP, had already flown to Saudi Arabia. She put this bill on the table at 2 in the afternoon, and then she flew off to fucking Saudi Arabia while the rest of the people debated it, and has taken off for 2 weeks to Saudi Arabia, of all fucking places. Like, I was on threads joking about, like, sorry guys, I've got to go fucking meet Sauron at Mount Doom. I can't be here to watch democracy collapse. Like,
Huge.
unbelievable misuse of
Yeah,
provincial
that's awful, man.
powers. Yeah,
That's awful, and I hope that I mean, I don't know what the what the recourse or what the union can really do in this situation, but like when you have a government that is like provincially or nationally in other people's case that is like basically taking away your rights and forcing you to do things, you need to stand up as a
yeah.
general
The
rule.
labor unions have kind of stated that they're all gonna do something, but along with this back to work bill that they passed, they also passed laws that will make it $500 a day fines to each individual teacher, and 500,000 to the board, or not the board, the union itself, if they stay out each day. So they're going to go back to work. The negotiation didn't happen. They've been off for 3 weeks, just losing pay, and they're going to go back to the same conditions. Basically, they're fighting for conditions in the classroom. They're saying, we have the biggest classrooms in Canada, lowest funding per student in Canada, even though we're like a rich province. None of it makes sense. But yeah, I just had to get that rant off here, regardless of whether you guys had anything to say about it or not. I appreciate you
I
hearing me on that one.
appreciate you informing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Anything else you guys feel like getting off your chest tonight? Any burning topics you need to talk about? Otherwise, I'm pretty much ready. We can wrap this thing up and get
Yeah, I
on
mean,
our
no
way.
burning topics so much, just as want people to plug in later this week, or depending on when you hear this interview, October 30th, our high-low drops. So just, please check in, listen to the record, go support that any way you can, and just really just listen. That's really what we want. And stay tuned to Roshin and I, because we've got some deluxe editions of this coming down the road, and more music from Roshin and I just in general. Just stay plugged into what we're doing. I've got some stuff with other artists coming, and he's got stuff with other artists coming as well. And I'm just excited to keep working with Roshin to the future, because it's my brother, and just hope people really check what we're doing, because I'm super proud of it. So
Yeah. Yeah, same, man. And just this Thursday, high low drops. I got one last video to share that my dad shot in Prince Rupert.
yeah, vid.
I'm excited for it. It's the joint with Quake. I wish Quake was there to have my dad shoot a music video, but maybe in the future. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited to share this with people, and I can't wait to hear what people think.
Man, all the visuals on your Instagram right now are looking real sharp. I think you're doing well with the whole like content push that artists always complain about. I think the rollout for this album has been good on that side of things for sure.
Trying to have some fun with it, man.
Yeah,
That's the principle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, I realized I didn't ask you guys the question I ask everybody before they leave, and I know I've asked you both this, but it can be updated time by time. Describe your local hip hop scene, and then you get to go.
I mean, Halifax is blue collar, man. It's always been the blue collar, real artistic. A lot of people get it's a easy. I shouldn't say it's easy, but it's a place that incubates artists beginning. Like it's a real good fertile ground for raw talent and idea, and it really hasn't changed. It keeps doing its thing. Shout out to Halifax.
Hell yeah.
I like that young buck Hatfield. He's dope.
Mm-hmm.
Halifax.
Mm-hmm.
And Toronto, man. Toronto's. I think we might have talked about this before, man. But Toronto's got more than one scene. It feels like in general, it's such a big. there's a bunch of different squads of people, and depending on what you like, there's different scenes for you. I'd say in like the indie scene that I exist in, it's pretty vibrant, and I'm loving what I'm seeing, and that the fact that what's coming from artists like Sazy, Tona, like Juco, Asun, Raz, and Six, and Grit. There's just a ton of really great music coming out and being put out into the world instead of into the ether. You know what I mean? Where people are producing cassettes and vinyl, and they're starting to show up on labels. And we need fans that are locked in, because there are so many underground rap fans up here to, look here, because we still have this weird thing where, like, people want to see that stateside cosign. You know what I mean? And then you're gonna be like, oh, I always rock with this. Just fucking rock with this guy now, man. Like, this shit is crazy. But I've been seeing more, shows out here that are like that that we're represented in, and like that the fans are noticing and coming out for. You know what I mean?
That's
And
good.
that's not instead of the Theloniouses and Terrell Morris, DJSB, like Dylan Ponders. These guys are just they're doing great work. You know what I mean? And we kind of exist. I think there's a couple different indie scenes even, but
Yeah.
Shout out to Ghost Town Records too.
oh, shout out Ghost Town Records, yeah, Young RJ, and the
Oh,
whole
is that
thing.
Ghost
There's
Boy
about
RJ? I was going to say, tell
Yeah,
me
yeah.
about Ghost Town Records. Okay. That's
Yeah,
Ghost
yeah,
Boy
yeah,
RJ.
yeah.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
just do so much quality stuff coming out of there. So
Yeah,
super
definitely.
dope stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and shout out my guy Kelvin, who's on that Kislo, who's rolling with them pretty hard right now too. Who's a fucking killer, and I'm glad to see him start getting his flowers, because he's been great for a long time.
Kislo, did you say?
Oh, yeah, KZLO. Yeah,
Okay, nice.
he got a
And
couple
that's
to
actually
check
a
that
dope.
out.
goes out
Yep.
now.
Ghost Town is.
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they're bridging Halley in Toronto right now, because Ghost Boy just produced and put out an album with C Stone Leone and Luke French from out here in Halifax, and
Yeah, that's cool.
so that's dope that the Ghost Town has kind of had this Halley crossover going too. So just some dope connects there with Toronto and Halifax.
You guys should
happening
set
right
up
now.
the cross promotional tour. You're both the Halifax Toronto connect there. You could
Yeah, for real.
definitely, that could work well for the East Coast and Eastern
Can't keep up, man.
provinces.
You guys smoke too much weed, man.
Well, tap out when need be, I guess. All right, guys, this has been fun, and appreciate you coming on once again. Anytime you got new music, send it over. Anytime you want to talk, let me know. We'll set one of these things up. Yeah,
Awesome,
peace
man.
and love, guys.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Doobyis. Take care,
Thanks,
brother.
Doobyis.
Information.
Peace. All right, that was fun. Roshin and Uncle Fester, high low, coming out very soon. There's 4 singles for it. You can find those on all the platforms right now. Follow these guys on the socials. They're both very active, and they both work with a lot of different artists. Not just each other, for sure. They're people who are always putting music out. I didn't even have a chance to mention it, but I haven't talked to Fester since he did his album before this with Lavender. She's another dope MC who I've talked to in the past on Fly In Formation. But yeah, they both stay busy, both of these guys. I think Roshan's been on the show 3 times in the last year and a half, because he had an album with Gritfall as well that he was on earlier this season talking about. Both very active guys, both very worthwhile listening to their music together and their music as solo acts or with other collaborators. Definitely tap in and check that out. Coming up next week, November 4th, Tuesday, November 4th, I'm talking to Ev Thompson. Tuesday, November 11th, I'm talking to New Villain. Tuesday, November 18th, I talked with Raven Nihilist, who informed me he is back in Saskatoon, which makes sense because he just won Best Rap Artist from Saskatchewan award recently. So I'm talking with Ray the Nihilist, November 18th. I saw he had a new song out today too, so I think he has new music on the way. November 25th, I talk with Pretty Ugly, and then December, I want to say it's December 2nd. I don't have it written on this piece of paper. The first Tuesday in December, I am talking with Decisive, who Roshin said he was looking forward to seeing me talk with. December 2nd. And I'm also looking forward to talking with him because he's a pretty funny guy on social media, and I have yet to have a chance to connect and speak with him. So looking forward to him, as well as all of the other artists coming up still this year on Fly in Formation. If you appreciate this type of thing, if you see what I'm doing for the Canadian hip-hop scene, and you think that that's something that deserves your support, hit like, leave a comment. If you're watching these on YouTube, come on over to Twitch on Tuesdays, twitch.tv/Doobyis, youtube.com/Doobyis. Doobyis.com is the hub. Mixcloud.com/Doobyis is where you can listen to After the Smoke is Clear. Last week's was a banger. It was like a dance mix. They're not normally dance mixes, but I do pepper those ones in there when I have an hour worth of music to play that makes sense for a dance floor. So yeah, if you need some music to move to, it's all Canadian, it's all new release, as always. Mixcloud.com/Doobyis. That's where you can find After the Smoke is Clear. I appreciate y'all immensely for coming through and showing love and saying hi in chat and all that good stuff. Tell a friend about the show. It's the only way that this thing grows. I'm not paying for ads. I'm not making enough money off this show to be paying for ads. So it is what it is. Maybe one day I'll fall into some money and then I'll pay for some ads. But until then, it's only going to grow if you tell your buddies who like hip hop about the show. And I always encourage people, if you like the artists, buy their music. Streaming is good, but buying music is better. Like Fester was saying there, I'm a big advocate for people making digital libraries. Every week I listen to a ton of music and then I buy the stuff that I like, which is kind of why I never end up listening to too much music over and over on Spotify. Because once I like something, I'm not listening to it again on Spotify. I'm just buying it, and then I have the MP3 in my library, and Spotify can fuck off, and iTunes can fuck off, and they can all disappear, and I've still got the music on several different physical drives. So that's what I would suggest people do. 99-cent singles. Support the artists you enjoy. If you hear something you like, go buy it. Appreciate y'all. Catch you on the next one. Peace.